Heavy rain in Delhi NCR leaves roads and underpasses completely flooded. Commuters stranded for hours on end as traffic snarls have reported the Millennium City, known as Gurugram, is the worst hit today with the rainfall that is 664% of what's normal. Delhi Unlock 3 guidelines allow for hotels to reopen and weekly markets as well on a trial basis. Gyms, however, will remain shut. The Supreme Court gives the CBI a free hand to probe the Sushant Singh Rajput case. Only an impartial probe can stop all speculation, says the court. After the top court order on Sushant Singh Rajput, the Bihar Chief Minister in an exclusive conversation with NDTV says our stand is vindicated.
बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री पर कमेंट करने की औकात रिया चक्रवर्ती की नहीं है।
उसने कुछ किए थे,
रिया चक्रवर्ती की औकात नहीं है बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री पर टिप्पणी करने की। कमेंट
The Bihar DGP's shocker. He says actor Riya Chakrabarti has no standing or aukat to question the Bihar Chief Minister's decision to ask for a CBI probe. Actor Akshay Kumar donates 1 crore rupees to flood-hit Assam. The COVID effect in the tourism sector. 2 crore jobs could be lost due to COVID-19. Revenue losses could be as high as 1.58 lakh crore. Well, incessant rains lashed the national capital region for hours on end. My colleagues, including Arun, will be joining us on the broadcast over the course of the next half an hour as we get you glimpses of roads turning into rivers. While incessant rain has lashed the national capital, like I said, for several hours on end, Met Department has warned of moderate showers to continue through the course of the evening and moderate showers tomorrow as well. But Delhi NCR is in a state of complete deluge with not just the arterial roads but main roads across the national capital region that have seen waterlogging, cars being submerged, traffic snarls and chaotic scenes. Water has entered homes. Water has completely submerged several subways across this area. Gurugram, the Millennium City, is the worst affected with 664% above normal rainfall in just a day. In 3 hours, the rainfall was 2 to 5 times what a day's average should be, turning several roads into rivers. And our team of reporters have fanned out across the national capital region to bring us ground reports. Arun, you've been out and about on the streets of Delhi NCR through the course of the day. We're given to understand that the situation was very bad in the morning. We're putting out some of those visuals for our viewers to see, but have the waters receded now?
Well, we are coming to you from Gurugram and we are very close to phase 1 metro station. Now this road is also seeing a little bit of traffic. Water has receded in many parts of Gurugram. This has been a day of heavy rainfall, but now the relief work has also started. You are seeing a pipe pumping out water, but the pool that this pipe or vent is pumping out water from is absolutely filled, and that gives us a sense or an idea of how much it has rained in the Millennium City today. Now this entire underpass there's no traffic movement, of course. There's garbage, all sort of things which have blocked the underpass, and there are police personnel also on the road which are diverting the traffic so that relief work can be easily done. Now in other parts of the Gurugram, there are reports of heavy traffic. We saw people taking their boats out also. So it's been a day of heavy rainfall, not only in Gurugram but in Delhi and Noida as well, Rishika.
Out on the streets, Arun, you've been covering the details of this story. What about the traffic situation? I mean, what you're showing us behind you in phase 1 in Gurugram is an underpass that is completely submerged in water at the moment. Arun, what about other areas in Delhi NCR at the moment? And what about the traffic issue? Has it eased up through the course of the day? All right, we're going to try and reconnect with Arun in just a bit, but this of course is the big story that we're tracking from several parts of Noida, Faridabad, Greater Noida, especially Gurugram, and of course parts of Delhi. One has seen waterlogging, submerged roads, there are underpasses that are completely inundated, water that has entered several homes, traffic snarls that have been reported, and this after intense spell of rain. And what many experts at this moment are warning against is short spells of intense rainfall as opposed to rain that is spread out over the course of a few days. That is what is causing for this entire urban infrastructure to crumble in the way that it has. And we have guests joining us on the broadcast this evening to try and make sense of some of those shocking visuals that we're putting out on our screens. We have Jatin Singh, he's the founder and managing director at SkyMet Weather Services. Appreciate you, Mr. Singh, for being with us. We also have Anjal Prakash, who's a research director and associate professor at the Bharati Institute of Public Policy. He's also written a report that focuses on urbanization and mountains and is the lead co-author on IPCC Oceans report as well. I want to begin by asking you, Mr. Prakash, because one has seen these shocking scenes not for the first time as far as the urban cityscape is concerned, whether it is Delhi, whether it is Gurugram, whether it is Mumbai. These are scenes that repeat themselves ever so often. Make sense of this for us. Is this a part of a larger narrative that we're not talking about? Is this climate change for us to see in full public view?
Thanks so much for having me, and it is the right time for us to pitch in this issue because as part of being IPCC scientist, I have been part of two reports. One is a special report on oceans and cryosphere, which actually has brought in some of these issues very sharply, and the second report which which is ongoing is IPCC 6th assessment report, and I'm part of the chapter on urbanization, which is also assessing these changes in the urban climate. And IPCC report and the climate scientists have been repeatedly telling us that, and from the assessment report, we have been knowing this for a long time, that the urban climate has been changing very rapidly. The issues that you have highlighted is the order of the day. This is the new normal. Cities have to gear up, and that's the major issue. That the cities have not geared up to adapt to these changes, and that's where the problem lies.
All right, so you're saying cities just aren't geared up to deal with this. And Jatin Singh, do you want to weigh in here? Because what one is seeing is short spells of intense rain that is leading to urban infrastructure coming to a grinding halt like we've seen today. Mr. Singh, can you hear me? All right, we're going to try and reconnect with Jatin Singh in just a bit, but let me take this back to Anjal Prakash at the moment, because the exact same question, this is short spells of intense rain, which is why the urban infrastructure is completely crumbling before our eyes in the manner that it is. But do you foresee this to now become the new normal as far as rainfall is concerned? It isn't spread out, it isn't consistent, and therefore one is seeing what we're seeing.
So, see, the climate realities have become a new normal. So this is going to be the order of the day. This is what we as IPCC scientists has been telling us for at least past 3 to 4 years. But there are two sides of the story. This one side is definitely that we have to cope with the climate crisis, which is just there. It is not something which is far, but it's just right there. The second part is about urban planning. What the way urban planning has happened in India or other parts of South Asia also, there's been huge questions because we have been, engulfing the what we call the environmental resources as we develop more and more. So the urban planning and the environment planning are actually at contradiction with each other. Let me give you one example. We have unregulated constructions and mismanagement of environment resources. We have water, reservoirs and wetlands which have been actually vanished over the years, is not only in Delhi but in all other parts of India. And slowly the blue and the green infrastructure has been appropriated to build more and more, and that's where the problem lies. So our planning has to be much more profound. It has to take care of the environment resources at hand, and also to take care of the floodplains and the water bodies. Protect them as much as possible. That's the key.
Do stay on with us, because we're now being joined by the senior deputy mayor of Gurugram, Pramila Kablana. She is joining us from Gurugram at the moment. Pramila ji, NDTV से बात करने के लिए बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया. मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि इस वक्त गुड़गांव में क्या स्थिति है. हमने सुबह देखा था that there was waterlogging, जो सारे अंडरपासेस बनाए गए हैं जिनकी वजह से ट्रैफिक तो बहुत स्मूथली चलता है, वो पूरा पानी से भर गया था आज.
हेलो
जी.
हाँ जी, जल भराव तो काफी है और जल निकासी के कार्य भी निगम द्वारा किए जा रहे हैं. तो एकदम ज्यादा बारिश, हैवी रेन की वजह से ये सिचुएशन पैदा हुई है और धीरे धीरे हमारे निगम के द्वारा जो प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं, बड़े बड़े ड्रेनेज की सफाई का कार्य और ये जल निकासी का कार्य किया जा रहा है, जिससे इस सिचुएशन पर काबू पाया जा सकेगा जो ये स्थिति पैदा हुई है उस पर. हेलो
जी. प्रमिला जी, मैं आपसे ये भी जानना चाहती हूँ इस वक्त कि गुड़गांव में जो है स्थिति अभी आप कह रहे हैं कि कंट्रोल में आ चुकी है. All right, I beg your pardon, we are going to have to cut this conversation short. There's a press conference that is currently happening in Maharashtra. We're going to dip in and listen.
उसमें बड़े प्रोफेशनली किया, कोई भी दोष वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन में नहीं है. बहुत ही सही तरीके से मुंबई पुलिस ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया. इस प्रकार का साफ जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जजमेंट दिया उसमें उन्होंने लिखा है. उसी प्रकार आप सभी को बताया कि परम पूज्य डॉक्टर बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर, इनका जो संविधान है उसमें फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर के बारे में जो कॉन्सेप्ट है या संघ राज्य के बारे में जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, उसके बारे में जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एक्सपर्ट है या बड़े बड़े जो थिंकर्स है, उन्होंने इसके बारे में आगे चल के विचार मंथन करने की जरूरत है, ऐसा भी मैं समझता हूं.
एक पैरेलल इन्वेस्टिगेशन मुंबई पुलिस ने बोला है कि वो कंडक्ट करेंगे. 174 में उनका जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन है वो कंटिन्यू करेंगे. जैसे
देखिए, जजमेंट में जो जजमेंट ने जजमेंट में जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो जजमेंट दिया है उसमें कुछ 34 या इसमें कुछ उसमें उल्लेख किया है, वो हिसाब से राज्य शासन सोचेगी.
That was the Maharashtra Home Minister talking about the Sushant Singh Rajput case being handed over to the CBI. We're going to continue to track all of those live developments as well. But let's shift our focus back to Delhi NCR and the incessant rainfall and the waterlogging that we've been discussing. We had the Deputy Mayor who said that there is some amount of work that is currently underway to drain out the water from several of these areas. But Jatin Singh, if you can hear me at the moment, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I want to ask you, and a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, have the same questions. One doesn't see consistent rainfall spread across the monsoon season. Instead, what we're seeing are these sporadic showers, intense rainfall for a short span of time, leading to the urban infrastructure completely crumbling in the manner that it has.
There are two ways of looking at it. What you're saying is what the general global warming scenario is, that the averages remain the same, but the number of rainy days goes down, so you tend to get compressed rainfall. And that was to a great extent true for a lot of the years in the 2000s. But I would say that 2020 is an exception. It has been consistent. I'm talking about on a national scale. It has been raining consistently all across India from June onwards. June was surplus, July was -9, August is right now doing well. And in every normal year, you would get 1 or 2 days in which Delhi and NCR tends to sink. Now this year you might get more, not necessarily because the rainfall is compressed. It is because it is somewhat of a La Nina year, and the amount of rainfall across the subcontinent is actually going to be expected to be higher than normal. So I would imagine that by the 1st of October, if I look at all the 4 months, the monsoon would be between above normal, maybe edging to excess. So if I spread that out, you will see more rainfall across the country this year.
All right, so more rainfall across the country this year,
something a global warming pattern.
Okay, something that we need to brace for. I'm gonna come back to you because we have several questions around what's really happening with rainfall. It's very important for it to rain, remember, but in the manner that it has and over this short time, does it actually do more damage than good? We also have Vaishali Sinha. She's the Chief Sustainability, CSR and Communications Officer of Renew Power. She's a resident of Gurugram and also works there. Vaishali Sinha, there are several individuals like yourselves. You live in the so-called Millennium City. There are so many top offices, corporates, MNCs that operate out of Gurugram. And yet, if you look at the kind of visuals that we've been playing on our screen since the morning, how does that make you feel? How does that affect your life and work?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you for having me on your show and giving me an opportunity to talk about this very important matter. And I think everybody's been talking about it, not only in India, but globally. And this is the kind of wonder or the disadvantage of social media. But honestly, it really is devastating. It's disappointing to see that some of the biggest corporates and MNCs are housed in Gurgaon. We've invested the state-of-the-art in offices here. We, contribute a handsome amount to the state exchequer in the form of taxes. However, I think there is a problem with respect to, planning and a continuous operation and maintenance activity which is lacking. I think there is a lack of coordination in the various organizations which work together for maintenance. It's just not enough. And I think there is not enough planning, there's not enough organization. And if I look at the number of people who are actually dying due to, accidents and inadequate infrastructure, flooding and various other things compared to COVID, I think it's not comparable. Many more people, I think 7-8 more times, number of people die because of these issues. So we really need the government, the local bodies to focus on things like waterlogging, power cuts, water-related issues, and the money is there, I think, and it's just a question of better implementation.
Vaishali Sinha, can I ask you a very straight question? And I think a lot of citizens who live across Delhi, NCR, even Mumbai for that matter, will resonate with your concerns. Is this bad for business?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Is this bad for business?
Yeah, I mean, we are thankfully we are working from home. Most of us are working from home. But if we were going into work, you lose a day of work. Nobody can get to the office. It's bad for climate. I mean, a lot of cars are stuck. People are trying to get to work and they don't get to work. So it's a good day lost at work, which is definitely not good for business. And this is just a small way. I mean, people getting to work, but then businesses are disrupted. And sort of plants are shut down, and there are a lot of other consequences which are quite negative. So I'm afraid to have this happen in Gurgaon is not good for the nation itself, because this nowadays things are not limited to Delhi itself. We are facing the problem.
Absolutely. This is happening all over, and you know, in fact, we did a global focus at 5:30 where we looked at issues of climate change, flooding in China, for instance, which is dominating the headlines for weeks on end. Now, Anchal Prakash, are we just not prepared? You know, is the bottom line all boils down to the fact that there is skewed development? There has been, you know, over concretization or whatever you call it in technical terms, and which is where rainwater, even though it's coming in sporadically, you know, intense rain over a short period of time, just doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah. So, see, one of the major issue is that our infrastructure is not climate adaptive.
Yes.
Climate scientists have been telling us for a long time that these things are going to come. This has already come, and we now have to face it. The problem again is the infrastructure has to gear up to these changes. Now, I'll give you one example: the storm water drainage, which has been planned for a different kind of rain pattern. Now, changes in rainfall patterns or variability in rainfall, that means that you have a limited period of time, you have a huge rainfall which will come up. So
yes,
the infrastructure has to come up to that level, and that's where the problem lies, that the city's drainage system is totally collapsed when this kind of incidents happen. And you've seen it in Bombay, you have seen it here, you have seen cities after cities facing the similar problems, and we are not acting upon it.
Right. You know, I want to at this moment go back. We do have the senior deputy mayor of Gurugram back with us on the broadcast, Pramila Kablana. Pramila ji, हम आपसे बात कर रहे थे. Apologies, I had to interrupt you earlier. But Pramila ji, हम हर टाइम जब भी तेज बारिश होती है, हम देखते हैं कि गुड़गांव के रोड स्पेशली अंडरपासेस पूरी तरीके से पानी से भर जाते हैं. ये पहली बार नहीं हुआ है, बहुत बारी पहले भी हो चुका है. तो क्या स्टेप्स लिए जा रहे हैं इसको प्रिवेंट करने के लिए, ये सिचुएशन को रोकने के लिए क्या स्टेप्स लिए जा रहे हैं?
बड़े बड़े जो ड्रेनेज है उनकी सफाई, जैसे बादशाहपुर ड्रेनेज है, उनकी सफाई का कार्य किया जा रहा है. जब बड़े जो जहाँ पूरे शहर की पानी का निकासी होती है वो ड्रेनेज की सफाई होगी, तभी ये जो सिचुएशन शहर में पैदा हुई है ये दोबारा नहीं होगी. तो उनकी सफाई का कार्य
बट ये हुआ क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि मेट डिपार्टमेंट ने वार्निंग्स इशू करी हैं कि देयर इज गोइंग टू बी मोर देन हेवी रेनफॉल, स्पोरेडिक रेनफॉल. ये ट्रेंड जैसा बन चुका है, और ये गुरुग्राम की ही बात नहीं है, ये नोएडा में भी हो रहा है, दिल्ली में भी हो रहा है, हमने मुंबई में भी देखा है. इसका समाधान क्या है, सोल्यूशन क्या है आपके नजर में?
वही बड़े बड़े ड्रेनेज की सफाई का कार्य बारिश से पहले हो जाए, जो कि अभी चल रहा था, और ये कम टाइम में और ज्यादा भारी बारिश के कारण.
प्रोमिला जी, फिर सवाल ये उठता है कि ये हुआ क्यों नहीं है?
नहीं, वो तो जो भी कार्य है उसमें थोड़ा टाइम लगता है करने में. सफाई का कार्य चल रहा था और अब आगे कोशिश रहेगी कि इस प्रकार की हालत पैदा ना हो.
All right, Pramila Kablana, they're saying that cleaning the drains regularly is of course a solution. She says, however, that the work was underway when this downpour did in fact happen. Let me go back to Jatin Singh at the moment. Jatin Singh, of course, a whole host of questions in terms of what lies ahead.
You see, you know, you cannot question the episodic truth. The fact is that our urban areas, now it's not so much, you know, and of course, you know, climate change has had a difference in pattern of rainfall. But if you look at the quantum of rainfall and the impact it is having, that is somewhat disproportionate.
And then
a lot of that has to do with overpopulation. For example, you know, Mumbai is a city, has 3 rivers, and all of that has disappeared. The drainage is gone. So when you're going to build, and it is and you take return period data, and then you try to say, you know, so how deep should my drainage should be, which is going to cost a lot of money, and how am I going to invest so that for one day access, how that drainage water is going to get drained out is going to cost a lot of money. And all of that gets computed into actually reducing the standards, and then we get a situation that you have in Gurgaon. It's a city we all know that has not really been planned. It has come up in pieces. It was,
yes.
It was under.
I think that's a very important point that you raised there, Jatin Singh. And let me take this to Dikshu Kukreja joining us on the broadcast. She's a town planner. You know, explain to us. Would you, Mr. Dikshu, blame build for what we're seeing happen? Complete lack of planning. We have no idea where all this rainwater collected needs to go. There are ad hoc pumps that are installed to just try and drain out the water from where it's drained. But where is all of this water going to go?
Absolutely right, Ishika. So, we have year after year, we see city after city in India submerged in the monsoons every time we have the monsoon coming in. And we hear this from the politicians or the municipal officers that, desilting of drains could not take place, or it was not in my jurisdiction, it was in the other municipalities' jurisdiction. Let's move away from that. We've heard enough of that. My suggestion is that time has come that we need a national water management policy. A few months from now, I'm sure we'll be debating on your TV channel about the fact that our cities are running dry without water. So isn't it ironical that when we get so much water in the monsoons year after year, all we need is a proper planning, a national water management policy. Water is no more a necessity. It has actually become a luxury that is part of our necessity. If you understand what I mean. So when we will not have any water and we are getting this rainwater, isn't it imperative that we conserve this water? And also I would suggest that just the way we have distributed and privatized gas pipes and electricity, it's the same way we need to privatize water distribution as well. We need to involve the RWAs. We need to create water reservoirs under our parks. We need to conserve every single drop of this water. And unless we do that, we will just be blaming year after year and trying to grapple with solutions.
Dikshu Kukreja, the big question that is on a lot of people's mind is how do you now go forward? I mean, you're saying that Gurugram, for instance, and we're putting out those visuals on our screens from Gurugram at the moment, you're saying that it was all built ad hoc. There's lack of planning. But the point is that it's built now. These areas that are completely inundated are already built, whether it is underpasses, whether it is building structures that lack, proper drainage system. How can this situation be mitigated? What's the crisis management strategy?
So, of course, the situation can be mitigated. There is technology. There's technology that we have today which can identify positions where cities get clogged. And once we identify that, we need to find the logical solution for that. So that means wherever there are low-lying areas, if they are like you said, in underpasses, we have to introduce pumps, standby pumps, so that the water can be pulled out of there. If there is water being collected in open areas, we need to create, when I say a water management policy, that is exactly what I'm talking about. We should have a whole network of lakes which can be created in Gurgaon. Is there any such thing in Gurgaon? Right. No, unfortunately not. On the contrary, what we hear in the news is that in our national capital, Delhi, there are lakes on paper which are left on paper, but in reality they have just disappeared. Right. So when that is the apathy we citizens are facing, where are the solutions going to come from? So there, I believe there has to be a genuine concerted effort, and I compliment you for bringing out through your media channel this issue, because unless we are able to really sensitize people that we need to take this in our hands, just the way we did with CNG, just the way we did with Diwali crackers, I think the time has come. We need to understand the importance of water. We cannot let it do this to our cities year after year. So it is all possible, and I'm again repeating, technology can help us achieve it. And planners, we all planners are having that know-how out here to be finding the solution. But the local authorities, they will have to move away from the concept, Ishika, of lowest tender. Even for appointing consultants like us, they go for a lowest price bid basis. Is that the solution? Is that what China or any other country has done? No.
All right. So the lowest price bid tender perhaps is a system that needs to be done away with. Several very, very important suggestions that you make there, Dikshu Kukreja. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but this is an issue that we will continue to address and raise and of course look for solutions while we continue to report on the state of affairs. Thank you all very much for joining me this evening. But while we're not done yet, I want to go across to my colleague Sukirti, who's been tracking the details of this story since the morning. Sukirti, you've pretty much crisscrossed the length and breadth of Delhi NCR as of this morning. It's a dry road there behind you, which is not a sight that we've seen through the course of the day. The water, of course, has receded in several parts. But what's it been like, Sukirti?
Well, Rishika, we are currently in Gurgaon, DLF Phase 3. Of course, yes, the roads here completely dry. but this Millennium City that is known for its high-rise apartments and its skyscrapers, many of these high-rise apartments today haven't had electricity for several hours. I have a few Gurgaon residents here with me to talk about the same and also the traffic issues that they face. Ma'am, first to you. For how many hours did the electricity not come, and is it a big disappointment to be living in the Millennium City and face such a lack of such basic facilities?
Yeah, sure, because we have been facing power cuts from early at 8 a.m. till now, and along with the power cuts, as we all are working from home right now due to COVID-19 situation, that is why we expect that the power cuts are fluent, but it has been fluctuating and we are only dependent on the generators here. Along with that, I think we have a cut on the delivery services, the online whatever orders has been going on. So there is a power short in the DTDH and all the delivery services, and that's why we have to be out on our own to get the essentials. Right. So these are the two, I think, prior problems that we were looking forward to, but it has not happened till now. So we really waited from early morning, but till the evening it wasn't that good enough. So we had to be out and about to get our stuff.
Right. So did you also hear about similar problems from friends and colleagues?
So actually I work in evening shift, so usually I sleep in morning time, so it was a huge disturbance for my sleep because I have to work again in the night shift. So that has been a major issue for me and my colleagues that are living in Gurgaon itself. So yeah, that's the big one.
Also just we'll just take one more voice and then come back to you. सर आपसे जानना चाहेंगे, आप गाड़ी चलाते हैं यहाँ पर, किस तरह की ट्रैफिक में दिक्कतें आई, कितना जो रास्ता यूजुअली ट्रैवल करने में टाइम लगता है वो आज कितना बढ़ गया?
जी मैं 15 साल से यहाँ गुड़गांव में ड्राइव कर रहा हूँ, इतनी ट्रैफिक मैंने कभी नहीं देखा था। यहाँ से राजीव चौक जाने में मेरे को तो 1 घंटा लगा। राजीव चौक से मेरे को मानेसर जाना होता है मैकडी के पास, मैकडोनल्ड जो है, वहाँ पे जाने में मेरे को 3 घंटा लग गया, इतनी बारिश थी।
ये जो रास्ता आज आपने 3 घंटे में तय किया, यूजुअल डेज में कितना लगता है, आम दिनों में कितना समय लगता है?
ओनली 20 मिनट, 20 मिनट में हम लोग यहाँ साइबर सिटी से मानेसर पहुँच जाते हैं।
So this is the kind of extent of problems that people saw today. Instead of 20 minutes, it took him 3 hours for him to go to Manesar, and that's the kind of problems people in Gurgaon today faced.
Well, absolutely, Sukirti, and very interesting what you were reporting earlier as well, that it was not just traffic snarls and waterlogging and people stranded in several parts, people were also stranded in their high rises in the Millennium City, so to speak, because the lifts weren't working. There were power outages that were reported in several areas as well. So, you know, it's been a nightmarish day as far as Delhi NCR is concerned, a story that we'll continue to track very closely. Appreciate you, Sukirti, for joining us with that update. Let's just leave you with these images from earlier today of waterlogging. Several parts of Delhi NCR completely inundated after heavy rainfall that was witnessed. Just a couple of hours of rain and the entire city came to a complete standstill.